Election 2002. Big money once again dominated the political process. Candidates, parties, and special interest groups spent $1 billion on television advertising. Soft money spending by the parties skyrocketed 72% over the previous midterm elections. And insiders from both major parties set up new fundraising organizations crafted to do an end run around the modest campaign finance reforms included in the McCain-Feingold law. Proof that the problem of money in politics continues to pollute the democratic process. But it doesn't have to be this way. In 2 states, Arizona and Maine, real campaign finance reform has succeeded in cutting the cord between special interest money and candidates. Voters approved far-reaching reform initiatives in Maine in 1996 and Arizona in 1998. The new systems had their maiden run in 2000. Now, with the 2002 election, this revolutionary reform, clean elections, has dramatically changed the political landscapes and legislature of Arizona and Maine. Under this system, candidates who collected a set number of small contributions in their districts, who agreed to voluntary spending limits, who agreed not to accept campaign contributions from any private source and not to spend money out of their own pockets, these candidates received full public funding for their primary and general election campaigns. The results in Arizona and Maine stunned the experts. More people ran for office. More women and people of color ran. Voters had more choices. Candidates spent less time begging for money and more time talking to voters. In Arizona, voters for the first time ever elected a clean elections candidate governor. 77% of the Maine Senate is now made up of candidates who ran clean, as is more than half the Maine House. And in both states, voters elected strong, clean elections legislators who owed their elections not to big money or special interests, but to the people, proving that we can change the way governing gets done and take back our voice and our democracy. In 2002, the $5 bill, the amount candidates had to raise from hundreds of voters in order to qualify for clean money funding, became the currency of the political realm in Arizona. 28 out of 32 candidates for statewide office, including 7 out of the 8 major party candidates for governor, opted to participate in clean elections. There was more competition for higher office in Arizona than in many years. And when the election was over, 9 out of 11 statewide offices, including governor, secretary of state, attorney general, and treasurer, were held by candidates who took no private special interest money and therefore owe no favors to big donors. Democrat Janet Napolitano became the first governor elected anywhere running clean, accepting $2.3 million in public funding in return for collecting at least 4,000 $5 contributions, agreeing to abide by strict spending limits and to raise no private funds.
I got to spend time with voters as opposed to spending time, dialing for dollars or trying to sell tickets to $250 a plate fundraisers. This was much better.
More and different candidates ran for office. Overall participation by women rose significantly, and the number of Latino and Native American candidates more than tripled.
The biggest benefits I think Clean Elections offers is more of a pool of good candidates.
It has changed the political landscape because you recognize, first of all, that more people are probably going to be involved in the process.
I do believe that clean elections, the publicly financed process, is democracy in action.
It's grassroots at its best.
So it freed me up from the chase of the dollars and allowed me to concentrate on walking the district, meeting folks.
The difference between being able to go out and spend your time talking with voters, meeting with groups, doing things like traveling to communities that have been underrepresented in the past, as opposed to being on the phone selling tickets to $250 a plate fundraisers. That's the real practical difference.
I don't owe anyone after the race I don't owe them any favors, and I think that's the instrumental.
The fact that for Attorney General, for many positions, to have to go to the very same interests that you're going to be regulating or potentially suing for your money to run for office is a disaster. That's a fundamental mistake in the system as it exists. And to be able to be free of that, to be able to have public funding which makes you independent from any specific interest is I think, a liberating factor. It's one that would allow me to do a much better job, I think, as Attorney General.
Overall, people are excited about it because they feel that their particular legislator will not be tied to special interest dollars. And that means a lot to them. The number of constituency calls since I've been involved with Clean Elections have increased dramatically. People really feel that they have a stronger, even stronger tie to you, just more so than just the vote.
You're able to concentrate on the issues, what need to be tackled, as opposed to figuring out where your money's going to be coming from at all times.
As a result of the 2002 elections, Clean Elections incumbents make up 45% of the Arizona State House and 17% of the Senate.
It's changed the whole look of what the legislative body looks like. It's opened it to more minorities, it's opened it up to more women, and you need these different viewpoints.
There's a complete turnover at the State House, and there's all kinds of new people. And some of those people would not be viable candidates without Clean Elections.
After a tentative maiden run in 2000, in 2002, the Clean Election system in Arizona came into its own as a clear, popular, and powerful political asset. More than half of all candidates ran clean. The system enjoys the support of 2/3 of Arizonans, surveyed by the Arizona Republic newspaper and the state's most prominent politicians.
Clean Elections works well to overcome the influence of special interests. It gives Arizonans the power to create good government.
The story is much the same in Maine. In 2002, 60% of all candidates, incumbents and challengers, ran as Clean Elections candidates, double the rate of participation in the 2000 races. As in Arizona, participation cut across the political spectrum, with 71% of Democratic candidates and 54% of Republicans running clean in Maine, along with a small number of independents and third-party candidates. The number of contested primaries in Maine also jumped 61% since the last midterm. It's clear that the Clean Election system levels the playing field and inspires more challengers to run. But a surprising number of incumbents also opted to run as Clean Elections candidates, limited their spending, and enjoyed campaigns where they spent their time with voters, not courting donors.
Mainers voted in referendum a few years ago that they wanted campaign finance reform. And I thought if they voted they want it, then I should make sure that I show them that this voluntary alternative can work. So I thought I was mostly doing it to honor their vote. After a few months of doing it, I was realizing how it was wonderfully shifting my focus more completely back to my constituency.
It frees you up to do the things that you need to do, knock on doors, greet the public, go to bean suppers and things of that nature.
One of the first clean election candidates in the country, no PAC money, no soft money, no individual contributions. So nobody's buying my vote.
That's cool. I've never been very persuaded by the argument that we shouldn't have public funding because it's some sort of a giveaway for politicians. Elections are a public good, and therefore they are such an essential part of our democracy that providing some sort of government funding to replace private funding, and thereby reducing the corruptive possibilities of private money, reducing the substantial amount of time candidates have to spend raising private money, and reducing the role of these special interests in the determination of how government should act, is a good that wholly justifies the small amount that a public funding system would cost relative to any measure of government spending that we now have.
With so many members of the legislature free of any direct dependence on private donors, there's hope to change the way business gets done at the state capitol.
I had person after person that when I knocked on their doors that said, well, it doesn't really matter how I feel because the people with the money that have people in Augusta pushing for legislation, they're the ones that you answer to anyway. And it put me in a good position to be able to say that's why I ran as a Clean Elections candidate, so that when I met lobbyists in the hallway, I did not have to agree with them, did not have to be saying, gee, I need to do what this person wants me to do so that in 2 years I can get funded by that person again.